welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Nigeria's main opposition party, the PDP, signs new agreements with a breakaway faction of the All Progressives Congress and more than 30 other political parties ahead of the 2019 general elections. Meeting between INEC and critical stakeholders in Ekiti State ahead of Saturday's governorship election in the state ends abruptly without any resolution. Nigerian Army hands over 183 repentant Boko Haram miners to United Nations Humanitarian Agency for rehabilitation. And 4 more boys trapped in a flooded cave in Thailand have been rescued in a second round of operations to get them out.
On business news tonight, Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation unveils 7 critical gas projects to support 15 gigawatts electricity generation by 2020.
And on sports news tonight, Spanish Football Federation appoints Luis Enrique as head coach after Fernando Hierro stepped down from the role following their exit from the World Cup.
And from Abuja, Chief Justice of Nigeria decries delay in delivery of justice in the country, demands thorough and comprehensive reform of the justice sector.
We begin tonight with what appears to be a new twist in Nigeria's political circle. That's the formation of a new alliance by the country's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, and more than 30 other political parties in the country ahead of the 2019 general elections. The alliance was reached after the parties signed a memorandum of understanding to wrestle power with the ruling All Progressives Congress next year. The parties have agreed to operate under the umbrella of Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP. Part of the agreement of the Memorandum of Understanding is for members to mobilize support for consensus candidates at the center, state and legislative arms of government.
It was right here in this same hall in 2015, before the general elections, that a faction of aggrieved members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, including some of their governors, took a decision to move en masse into the then opposition party, the All Progressives Congress, APC. 3 years after that gathering, history is repeating itself. Nigeria's major opposition party, PDP, is leading a grand alliance of 39 political parties, including members of the APC splinter group, RAPC, with the sole aim of wresting political power from the APC in 2019.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good day.
Various political party leaders represented put their pen to paper, signing the agreement to work together for a singular objective, which is that of forming a unity government in 2019.
We are here to form a coalition that will usher in a government of national unity. We are here to rescue the nation from further decline and imminent collapse.
I share the sentiment of all, and I believe that we are now one with this grand alliance. We believe, as our leaders in the past have done, we are doing the exact thing today. Our nation is on the move of recovery.
It is the first time in Nigeria's political history that 39 opposition parties and groups are forming this kind of alliance. But forming a coalition is one thing. It is quite another to bring to fruition the terms of the agreement.
I assure you seated here that if we can get our acts together, tap together, work together, be open to each other, the sky is our limit and success is our own. It is not going to be a tea party, because from the day we announced the formation of the reformed APC, a lot of people received the threats.
We are the ones who will help to monitor what happens to ensure that the alliance does not break up, that ambition does not destroy this alliance. We must be ready to make every sacrifice to save the nation. Coming together to form this coalition to rescue Nigeria has no alternative.
Although not all members of the NPDP and the RAPC, both aggrieved groups of the All Progressives Congress, are here, the presence of their leaders is perhaps an indication that the journey to the 2019 elections will witness some interesting twists along the way.
The leadership of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, says it will not lose sleep over the threat posed by the splinter group Reformed APC. But the breakaway group is joining a new alliance with more than 30 other political parties, which is something the ruling APC should worry about.
The recent event in Nigeria's political history is perhaps on replay, and those who argue that a country's politics is in circle now have a new premise for their argument. In 2013, the All Progressives Congress was only a work in progress, an alliance of the country's major opposition parties at the time. All they had was their political calculations and a common opponent, the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. The APC leveraged on the crisis in then ruling party, which would eventually give birth to the new PDP, a splinter group that made a difference. 5 serving governors from PDP, a party that prided itself as the largest political party, jumped into the APC sheep. Over 40 lawmakers joined them, and that gave the APC the number advantage.
Protect and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Their plans came to fruition in 2015 when the APC candidate Muhammadu Buhari won the presidential election by almost 2.6 million votes. The alliance paid off, history was made, a new way to defeat a sitting government was born. Another election year is in sight, and the political opponents of the ruling All Progressives Congress are strategizing to give the party at the center a taste of their own medicine.
When shall I see my home? APC suffer me, oh, when shall I see my PDP? I will never forget my home, APC.
The leadership of the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, the SDP, ADC, the National Conscience Party, the Reformed APC, and a host of other newly registered political parties held a meeting in Abuja. The objective of the meeting is clear: form a grand alliance for a singular presidential candidate to wrestle power from the ruling APC in the forthcoming presidential elections next year. Mission impossible or not, the APC is getting a run for their money, a sign that the newly elected leaders have quite a task on their hands and must hit the grounds running.
We'll now be joined on the news at 10 by legal practitioner and political analyst, Mr. GT Ogunye. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, always a pleasure having you here. You were watching very closely that report by a political correspondent, Shewa Kimberley, and he talked about the party being able to hit the ground running. He also talked about this coalition hopefully giving the ruling APC a run for their money. First of all, can they register with INEC at this point, at this schedule of the elections?
By virtue of Section 80 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, and Section 84 specifically, they can still come with a merger. What Section 84 provides is that 90 days before a general election, a notice can be given by a group of political parties indicating their intention to merge. There will be special conventions that will be convened to pass special resolutions supporting the merger, and then documentation will be in place. New logo, new emblem, et al., and then they submit to INEC. And then INEC has a duty to report back to them, revert to those groups within 30 days. If INEC does not do so within 30 days, then the new group will be deemed to have emerged as a political party, meaning that the merger will have sailed through. So yeah, they still can do it if that's their ultimate objective.
Can I get your honest opinion on whether this merger will work? Because you have the leadership of the reformed All Progressives Congress with the People's Democratic Party, two large parties joining with more than 30 others to form a merger. They have barely 7 months to these elections. Do you think this is enough time for them to properly merge, integrate, and eventually provide a united front against the ruling APC?
The time is not too short for them to merge if that's what they want to do, provide an opposition to the APC. But let me just say generally that from independence, on the eve of every election, we've had political parties coming together. In 1964 general election, there was a united progressive Grand Alliance formed on June 3rd, 1964. And towards the 1983 election, there was a PP, Progressive Parties Alliance. So on the eve of every election, you've seen politicians coming together to see whether they could work together. Now, there was a game changer in 2015, when the political forces at that time in the opposition didn't just form an alliance, they indeed formed a merger, meaning that they dissolved into a political party, which then resonated with Nigerians and then, altered the balance of forces. I think that ultimately it's left to the Nigerian people to determine who will govern them at the center. I have always said that the Nigerian people too often are presented with a Hobson choice between the devil and the deep blue sea, between the rock and the hard place. All the people that are emerging are part of the political processes of this country. It may be said that we're not going to bring about a new political class from heaven or from El Dorado. They are still the ones that we know. And so if we're going to have a free and fair election and we're going to have a decent debate so that Nigerians can look at the choices that they have, it will be a good thing.
Yeah, but does this also provide an opportunity for young people who are also intending to run for office? Does this provide a proper platform for them?
All the people that I've seen there are not young people. They are the old guard that I've seen. They are the people who are disenchanted because they're not part of the current political process. And the fixation of politicians usually is on power for power's sake. It's not on paradigm shift, it's not on... they talk a lot about how to save the country, how to salvage the country, but ultimately it's about power. And they are entitled to bid for power at any rate.
So are we likely to see more alliances before the elections?
It will be important to see whether the new entrants, as you indicated, are willing to form such an alliance. The young people who are touring the entire world now, we know that, I don't want to call them by name, and all the other people who can speak to Nigerians, that when they speak on telly or anywhere, you ennobling words, things that encourage Nigerians. So if those ones can come together, I think that they can pose an alternative, a credible alternative, to both those who are emerging now in a coup, and I'm using pun, coup, gang up, whatever, and those who are in power. Usually, politicians are desperate people. Either those who are desperate to snatch political power, or those who are desperate to dig in and hang on to power, even when there is no reason to do so.
Mr. Ogunye, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your opinions with us.
It's my pleasure.
In part two, after the break, Nigeria Labour Congress pickets MTN offices across the country over matters of workers' welfare. Please stay with us.